So, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned into Pan-African Television. My name again is Kwame Owusu Danso. So super excited, like I said from the beginning, to have you join me on the morning show. We're going to be engaged in a very wonderful conversation here on the morning show, and I'm sure that you cannot wait. The president has spoken. We're going to be interrogating that which he said yesterday. We're going to be asking the right questions. We're going to delve deeper into the conscience, if you will, of the president to find out whether or not it is one that is pari passu with the well-being of the people, or it was taken as a result of some political benefit that may accrue from saying. So it's going to be very exciting today. I have been joined in the studios by Mujeeb Rahman. Mujeeb Rahman is a leading communicator of the MPP, and he's fully dressed for war this morning. Mujeeb is fully dressed for action, and Mujeeb is fully dressed to defend that which was put out by the president. Mujeeb, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very kindly for your time today. You look very, very, very good, by the way. Right. Also here seated is Sylvester Sarpong, Soprano, aka SSS, and he is gunning for the General Secretary position of the CPP. I don't know how far he's gone with respect to the campaign and what he's been doing to ensure that he gets a lot of a lot of support. But I do know that he's very, very intelligent, and he is very passionate when it comes to conversations that has to do with the Conventions People's Party. Good morning to you. SSS.
Good morning.
You look very, very good, by the way.
Kwame, you have me blushing, man.
I don't know who will be representing the NDC. I'll find out pretty shortly. But until then, okay, well, I'm told there's no NDC representative. That's very, very strange. Very, very, very strange that we don't have an NDC rep. The person has decided not to come, isn't it? All right, no problem. We'll deal with them later. COVID-19 pandemic restrictions eased. Schools reopen for final year students, abridged religious activities begin, borders remain closed, limited political activities. All of these matters were part of the president's speech yesterday, or address, if you will, yesterday. MPP Guru rejects new register, calls on Electoral Commission to strengthen existing voters' role. The Inside newspaper captured that story. Police inspector arrested for robbery, 2 others on the run. The new voters register, NDC position absurd, EC fires, Daily Guide reported that story. So we're going to be juxtaposing that with what the MPP Guru also said relative to the compilation of the new voters register here on the show. So your views are welcome. 0260846539. We are going to be reading the messages here for you. We're also streaming live on Facebook. Let me remind you, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. YouTube is also streaming our morning show, youtube.com/Pan-African Television. Please share with us what your thoughts are, and we will be glad to read them here for you. Good morning to you, gentlemen, and thank you very much for your time again. Now, before we even get into the substantive issues here, an issue has been happening, transpiring in the United States of America, and I'll be starting with you, Soprano, on this one, yes, where a black gentleman, George Floyd, was brutally, gruesomely murdered when he was being arrested by the police. Now, that arrest and his subsequent death had definitely outraged the people, and the people have thronged the streets, defying all protocols of COVID-19 and demonstrating their vehement opposition to that which has been happening over the period. Indeed, it is a perennial matter. And I remember, I don't know whether you remember, in recent times, the hashtag Black Lives Matter came up. Yes, and, a lot of people also joined that conversation. Yes, it has resurfaced again, this time in a more devastating manner, where people are burning churches, antiquated churches, churches of monumental nature in the United States of America, close to the White House. People are just defying orders and telling government to their face that, listen, enough is enough. Black lives matter, just like white lives matter, and just like all lives matter.
Thank you, sir. And good morning to the viewers and Ghanaians everywhere around the world watching. And Mujeeb, it's nice to see you. You're looking really handsome today. Yes, sir. And so, yes, Kwame, You know, what is happening in the United States of America is nothing new. I think that it speaks to the history of the relationship between white people, for the most part, and non-whites, especially black people. Okay, and we all know the history of United States, a country defined by slavery. You understand? In modern times, it has, or it was more defined by science and technology, you know, especially, you know, post the Second World War, in the era of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Okay, the United States more became defined by science and technology. But essentially, it is a nation defined by slavery and the chattel slavery and the astonishing treatment of human beings that are black or of African descent. You see, and it's very interesting that this week, okay, that all of this came together with regards to the murder of the gruesome, heart-wrenching murder of George Floyd. You know, the United States again went to, you know, sent a manned space flight up to the International Space Station. This is really important. During the 1960s, in the era of John F. Kennedy, we had massive demonstrations that led to that was the era of Martin Luther King Jr. And it led to the Civil Rights Act, which is very, very, very important in the history of the United States because it basically ended segregation, which was akin to apartheid. They were practicing apartheid in America. You know, they just called it segregation. And the 1960 Civil Rights Act, you know, came about because of the actions of Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy and etc. A whole, you know, it was a movement. And at the same time, the United States was going to the sending people to the moon. Okay, this week, Elon Musk, okay, who is an immigrant from South Africa, okay, has transformed the United States science and technology situation. And they went to the space station, you know, for the first time with people. Okay, a manned flight in 9 years. At the same time as the black people were being slaughtered in the streets. And I just wanted to juxtapose that, the two, so that people would realize that essentially the core behavior of white supremacists in America has not changed. And it has led to the, you know, if people have seen the way George Floyd was murdered, you know, that's about 6'4" big black man, you know, handcuffed. You know, he was stripped naked, at least chest up. His shirt was taken off, handcuffed and put to the ground. And then you had this 44-year-old officer, his name is Chauvin, you know, kneel on his windpipe, on his throat. And George Floyd, this big guy, was crying tears and saying, "I cannot breathe." And he was crying to the extent that he cried for his mother. You see, when a man is pushed into a corner like that, a fully grown man, 46-year-old man, he started crying for his mother. And then he stopped breathing. And the policeman, the white policeman, kept his knee on his throat for more than 2 minutes longer to make sure. Okay, and then for 4 days subsequent to that event, which was caught on camera, he was walking around, he was not arrested. And, you know, needless to say, we Pan-Africanists and members of the glorious CPP, we are livid. And we are numbed. We cannot imagine that this is happening in the year 2020. And then further, we are very disappointed in the President Akufo-Addo administration because as yet, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, we've not heard the president say anything about this situation. Okay, maybe the president is trying to be diplomatic. But what about the Minister of Foreign Affairs? She's not said anything. You understand? And this drives home what we in the Convention People's Party have been saying, that for as long as the government of Ghana makes it a priority and an exercise to go around to the European countries, American countries, you know, our Caucasian brothers, cap in hand, always begging for everything. For as long as we continue to remain beggars, when we live in the land of plenty, then this is the lot that we will be subjected to. Okay, this is not the first time this is happening. Even in this year, I'd like to point out that for Ghanaians and those of us listening across the continent of Africa, for you to better appreciate the situation that happened, that led to the daylight robbery of the soul of George Floyd. I want to point to something that happened a couple of days earlier with regards to a white lady called Karen Cooper, okay, who was walking her dog in Central Park, New York City. Okay, which is like a park where, you know, you can go and hang out and, you know, take some fresh air. and she was, disregarding the rules with regards to how you walk a dog. You got to put the dog on a leash. And when a black man, insisted that she obey the rules because it was disrupting the essence of why the rules were made, she turned and said to him that, unfortunately for the rest of the world, we all caught it on camera. And we saw how white people weaponize, that's white Americans especially, in America, weaponize the police to, get rid of black people and even have them killed. Because Karen Cooper, the white lady, turned to the black man on camera and told him that if you do not put your camera away, I'll call the police and tell them that I'm being threatened by a black man. You understand? And then she put on an act. She put on an Oscar-winning act. And I'm telling you, my brothers and sisters, that if that black man had not left the scene and the police had arrived, they would have shot him immediately. That is the character of the police in the United States. Remember Tamir Rice. He was a small boy playing with a toy gun. He was 14 years or so, playing with a toy gun in a park. And somebody said, I've seen a kid. Another white woman said, I've seen a black man with a gun. And the police arrived, and within 2 seconds upon arrival, they sprayed him with about 14 bullets and just took his life. You understand? So one is at loss as to what is happening. Is there a certain vampiric, a vampiric clique in the U.S. police force that is, determined to be sucking the blood of black people? Is that what is happening? Because how come that there's a consistent routine execution of black people in America by the, the police force? So we, Ghana, the black stars of Africa, the least we can do is to hold aloft the Pan-Africanist light and make a complaint in the spirit of all that is black. Okay, so we know that President Akufo-Addo might not feel too comfortable criticizing, because after he criticizes, he will have to go to Europe and America to go and beg for money. Yeah, as our former presidents have all been doing, always begging. They go to white people and they say, oh, please, Mr. Whiteman, please, we beg you. Can you give me some? Please, Mr. Whiteman, give me some, please. We beg you. This is what our leaders have been doing. Going around begging. When we, Ghanaians, blessed by the Almighty God, living in a land of plenty, what do we not have in this country? So that is why we are saying that until the government of Ghana realizes that the way to go is the Kwame Nkrumah way, that we revert back to the strategies of the Convention People's Party, the resuscitation of the Gihok industries, the state farms, creating jobs in this country for our people, then what is happening is that our young men, our beautiful young women, will go to places like America as black people and put themselves at risk of being, slain by racist, vampiric police men, in America. You understand? So this situation where we have black people being, this is almost like some type of genocide. We must call it what it is, for the love of God. You understand? Now, having said that, Kwame, I would also want to, I've lived in the United States before. I've lived in Cabrini Green in Chicago before. That is the ultimate ghetto, man. I've been there. I know the situation. You see, but black people, my fellow black people in America, I'm talking about Americans of African descent. Please, you know that the white policeman is trying to take your life. Why do you resist arrest? Don't resist arrest. That is all that the vampiric police force is trying to get you to do. That you resist arrest so that they will put their knee on your throat and deprive you of God's given breath, the oxygen. He will deprive you of it. The policeman had his knee on George Floyd's throat and he says, will you get into the car now? And he had his knee there and Floyd was saying, please, I can't breathe. Don't kill me, please. And then he said, oh, I'm going to die. Mama. He started calling for his mom, 46 years old. This captures the treatment of black people in America by the white police force. You understand? That we have certain vampiric elements in the United States police force that are determined to suck the blood of black people, black men consistently. So we are asking black people in America, when the policeman says stop. When he says raise your hands. Don't resist arrest, because when you do, then it gives them the opportunity to shoot you. And then you know what they will say? I was afraid for my life. And so he shot you. You understand? But you see, the other day we have the situation whereby there was a black woman in her bedroom. There was a policeman who suspected shot a woman in her bed. Yeah, there was this boy, handsome black boy, originally from the Caribbean, in his apartment watching TV. A white policeman woman who lived next door to him walked into his apartment and shot him in the apartment and said, oh, I thought it was my apartment. Can you imagine? You see, so the issue is that black people in America, they don't seem to be able to find a way to do things right. When they are violent, the police will shoot them. When they are not violent, like Castile in Minnesota last year, the police will shoot you in front of your wife and children. When you run away, like the man who was running away from the policeman, the white policeman in South Carolina, Charleston, the policeman will shoot you in the back and plant a gun in your hand or drugs on you. When you face them directly, like in Ferguson, that young man who was shot in Ferguson a couple of years ago, I think Martin or Michael, you know, I forget his full name. When you face them directly, they will shoot you. When you are driving a nice car, I was once in a nice car with a friend, a BMW 7 Series, that he had gone to pay legit everything. And we were driving from North Carolina to Virginia Beach. And the policeman, so we drove by a policeman, okay, a police car, on the highway. And when we drove by him, as we were driving by, we made eye contact with him and sped past him. And as soon as we went past the policeman, he put on his light and accelerated. Seriously, vroom, got in front of us, stopped us, searched us for drugs, for weapons, for everything, and said, "Is this car for you?" You know, and a couple of other police cars, "Is this car for you?" And you know, so I get the impression that one of the reasons that white policemen be killing black people in America, especially black men, is also jealousy and envy. Kwame, when they see that you're a successful black man and they catch you in a dark corner and you are not careful. You understand? So if you know somebody in the United States that is driving a lot, one of the things they could do is to put a camera in their phone and have it on Facebook Live when the police stops you. So that, you know, you could be on camera, because that might be the only way that, you know, your death, in case you are killed, would be, you know, sort of avenged, or, you know, the law will kind of check it. So, all right. So in conclusion,
this was just this was just
by the way.
I think that in conclusion,
okay. In conclusion, all I want to say is that we expect the Minister of Foreign Affairs, because we know the president is a little afraid to go and criticize Donald Trump because he will go and beg later. So you, Minister of Foreign Affairs, kindly make a statement on the behalf of Ghanaians, because Ghana is the black star of Africa and the rest of Africa is watching us. So take the lead, be bold. And then African Americans in America, I'm talking about Americans of African descent. When the policeman arrests you, please stop resisting. You just go to the police station so that you might live. And to the vampiric forces in the U.S. Police forces, we leave you in the hands of God. God bless everyone.
Thank you very, 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 very much, my brother. And let's now bring into the conversation Mujeeb Rahman, who is a member of the NPP. I'm sure, you know, fundamentally, he's also not enthused about what is happening in the United States of America. Mujeeb.
Kwame, thank you. First of all, Kwame, sometimes when we get the opportunity to, we have to take it serious. And I was listening to my good friend, and I'm surprised he said the president is afraid to talk or something like that because he will go begging. But no, but Kwame, this is not the best way to go. When you are talking of, like, in terms of bilateral cooperation or in terms of countries getting back to IMF and all those, but these are going to beg for what?
We are begging.
I hope we are getting the argument. But that doesn't make sure, that doesn't prevent us from telling the truth. No, but let's be very serious.
Respectfully, let me just.
We are discussing about what black Americans are going through in America, and George Floyd death has created the atmosphere. And I think today I have not watched, but since for the past days they have been on the street. Now it has caught up with the whole of America.
So most of the people have been laid off, so right now they have
they have luxury of time to demonstrate. So Kwame, that should be
white people in London are
but there's when they've started, they were at American embassy, around American embassy. So Kwame, that is the problem. So we have always with them, and it is something that we have condemned. And Kwame, but any normal person will condemn those. But you have just given a catalogue of people who lost their life through the white supremacist police. Yes. Isn't it true?
Sure.
Is it the best?
No, of course.
Of course. So you haven't condemned it.
We have not heard the president condemn it.
It doesn't. That is not what we are discussing. We are discussing. You are also a human being. You have lived in the U.S. You are a black person. So you have experienced firsthand what your friends and brothers are going through in America. Is it right? So that is the topic, and that is what you need to comment. So say what you want to say. So Kwame, I think what is happening now is the best. So Kwame, so I also, we are also with them in spirit. We are not there physically to also support them. But Kwame, I think that what is happening is like the black people have gotten the opportunity to vent and explain to the world some of the things that they are going through that are not being reported or that are not being shown to the rest of the world. Kwame, it's like, it's a deep-seated anger among the black Americans.
Long overdue.
Long overdue, Kwame. Yeah. Kwame, when we were not born, when we were born, we've learned historically how Martin Luther King and co. Freedom fighters fought to liberate the black race in America. But it seems not to I think maybe, Kwame, what is the issue? The races, what is it? So because we are white and black?
No, it's white supremacy.
Oh my God, man. My God. But they have been there, Kwame, long before, if not because Obama has broken the... I think all the presidents so far have been...
If I may just elaborate on something he's saying briefly.
Yeah.
Because of time.
Yeah, but we have so many. But Kwame, I think it is very important. So, for me, I support what is going on in America. The demonstration. Yeah. I don't subscribe to violence demonstration. Kwame, you can do peaceful one. And then get your, but you know, when the people are so angry and mad, they can do anything. They may not even need what is in your shop. No, they just want to send a signal.
I find this thing very, very, very hilarious. When people say that, oh, you did a peaceful demonstration.
No,
a demonstration is a demonstration.
It's a demonstration, Kwame.
And sometimes when you are very calm, it does not
send the exact signal. Even when the numbers are huge, you can't control.
You can't control.
Yeah, even the organization can't.
And like you
have huge
and like you yourself have admitted, you've admitted that. Look, listen, this is a perennial issue. It's a deep-seated matter. People are fed up.
I think that it has.
They should continue to bend.
George Floyd has presented a golden opportunity.
Trump ran away from the White House.
And he's even I don't know now. As at yesterday, he hasn't even addressed it. He was only on tweet, sending an inconsistent tweets. So. Just like we want to blame some people. People are studying the situation. The president of America himself has not even comparing. No, I'm not comparing. But he's responsible.
Yeah, Mujeeb.
It's his country, and he's responsible. He has to talk.
Kwame,
anyway,
let me say something.
No, we can't. Please, respectfully. Now, yesterday evening at 10 p.m., His Excellency Nana Osiadeyo Adodankwa spoke, or if you will, addressed the nation, his 10th address. Now, yesterday, he, as many have originally envisaged, eased the restrictions on some of the movement in the country. And some schools have been opened, churches have been opened, albeit that they must operate under some very restricted conditions in order that we can continue to protect ourselves, etc., etc. I just want you to watch the video again. Watch the video when the president eased those lockdowns. When we come back into the studio, we're going to be having a conversation, a detailed one, on the restrictions eased, schools reopening for final year students, abridged religious activities beginning, and also borders remaining closed. Watch this video of the president speaking. I shall come back into the studios to engage our panelists here.
The roadmap for easing safely the restrictions. Ours is going to be a phased approach involving a selected list of public gatherings based on their risk profile, socioeconomic impact, and most importantly, our capacity to enforce and to respond in the event of a flare-up in our number of infections. So, fellow Ghanaians, with effect from Friday, 5th June, we will begin stage 1 of the process of easing restrictions. An abridged format for religious services can commence. 25% attendance with a maximum number of 100 congregants can worship at a time in church or at the mosque with a mandatory 1 meter rule of social distancing between congregants. In addition to the mandatory wearing of masks for all persons at all times in churches and mosques, a register of names and contact details of all worshippers and hand-washing facilities and sanitizers must be provided with a maximum duration of 1 hour for each service. Religious institutions that are desirous of opening their premises to their members, such as churches, mosques, and others, must disinfect, fumigate, and put in place the requisite logistics needed to guarantee safe opening and operationing. They must work with the designated regulatory bodies and undertake test runs of the protocols I have outlined. I would appeal to them, in the case of Christians, on the first Sunday of reopening, i.e. 7th June, in the case of the Adventists, Saturday, 6th June, and in the case of Muslims, on the first Friday, i.e. Salat al-Jum'ah, on 5th June, to dedicate their worship to prayers for the nation in these challenging times. The Minister for Religious Affairs will outline in detail the specific guidelines for the safe reopening of our churches and mosques.
Thank you very much. That was the President speaking, and yesterday at 10 p.m. he gave this address to the nation. Mujeeb, I want to start with you on this particular subject matter. Do you think we've gotten to the point where it has become utterly imperative to lift the restrictions that were imposed on the citizenry arising out of the global pandemic which created pandemonium in the world and in Ghana?
Thank you very much, Kwame. I think that it's appropriate and it's timely that we have to look at ourselves as a country and define where we want to go. So if we look at, for some weeks now, the President has been any opportunity, especially in his May Day address and Eid address, trying to let the people understand that something has to be done in respect of the restrictions so far he has imposed, which as a result of COVID. Kwame, the question we all kept asking ourselves is that how long can we continue to live with all these restrictions and all these restrictions that the President has imposed? Now it has just like, some of us are finding it difficult, but even to the extent we call it new normal, it's a way we have to adapt and live. Kwame, that is true. But I think that if you look at the President's statement yesterday, he said in consultation with stakeholders across the country, Kwame, and he did mention the teacher union, the transport union, every group of people, the religious group of people were consulted extensively. Kwame, as a people, we have to have a way. The reason is, Kwame, even countries that are hardly hit by coronavirus pandemic, but for some time now are also trying to ease some of the restrictions, Kwame, so that life can go on normal. Kwame, kids are at home for about 11 weeks or so now. So how long? As a people, what are we thinking? So I was very happy when I hear the President systematically, he did indicate that something else has to be done. So for the first, so you've seen that he has announced what the religious groups, churches, Muslims, and others, what they need to do. Kwame, after the announcement, what I told myself is that the enforcement should be the problem now. So they have to make sure that they adhere to some of the protocols still that is in place for us to be able to compound the situation. So Kwame, if all of us adhere to the social protocols that have been laid down, with meticulously and with all what the President has said, I think as a people we should be able not to get into a bad situation. With especially now we can go to mosques, maybe depending on the size of the church, 100 people, more, not more than that. Other activities can go on. Kwame, it is very important. So let's start there and begin to watch ourselves. But the president said something instructive. He said, the vigilance of the individual, the vigilance of Ghanaians is very, very important. And that has helped us to get to where we are. Kwame, we might have the numbers. The numbers will be very, maybe scary. But Kwame, when you relate it to other countries in respect of maybe how the hospitals of those countries have been overwhelmed in terms of serious illness of COVID patients and how the death rate is. Kwame, when you look at the statement of the president, he said, by his grace, we have been lucky to some extent that we have not reached that situation. And we don't pray as a people to get to that situation. That is where he put more emphasis on the vigilance and caution of the individual. Kwame, I am allowed to come to Pan-Africa and contribute my little mind to socio-economic development, but I have to adhere to the protocol. Getting here, I have to wash my hand and sanitize. Maybe be on my face mask. Kwame, avoid a handshake. It's very distant. So now I know we used to be three, now we are two, social distancing. It is very important. So which I know Pan-Africa is also adhering to the protocols. So it's very important. So the churches and the schools. Kwame, when you take the schools, the president has mentioned systematically. I think the universities are coming first on the 15th. And when it gets to the senior high school, the emphasis was on numbers in terms of how many numbers will be in a classroom. But that is only limited to those at their final year. Come, you get to JSS, you see. And now he said the Ministry of Education will be liaising with authorities to make sure that all these things are implemented. Kwame, the president did not announce all this in vacuum. He announced them based on consultation and based on science and data. But he was mindful of the fact that maybe if we sleep, we should be able to control that. When you get to the latter part of the statement, the president said it, that we are at a point that even if we get here, but we should be able to manage the situation. So, but I think that it's a way that we have to go with, because other countries are trying to do it, but we as a country, we have thinkers, we have people, we have to be fashioning a way out of this, even though the virus is still with us. That is why I like those group of people saying that let's learn to live with the virus, because it is here, it is real, and it's with us. So what are we doing as a people? So we can go about our 80-85% normal duty and still be safe without contracting the disease. And I think some of these things is what necessary and is what we are supposed to do. So in short, the president's speech yesterday is inspiring, and it is giving hope that we as a people we are in charge of our own destiny, and we are responsible for whatever actions that we take as ourselves. But we don't have to depend on others. So Kwame, when it comes to even some of the measures put so far based on the president's speech, he said, fine, we have done significant well. Kwame, he has mentioned the number of PPEs with regards to nose masks, goggles, sanitizers, head gowns that has been provided to health workers. It is very, very significant. So, and I think that, and so far with the number of people that have been tested,
today the number has hiked, skyrocketed to about 7,800.
No, now it's even. Then you are even because if you look at the present statement, so far 218,000
cases.
No. Testing 425.
No, I'm talking about the confirmed.
It's 8,000. Now it's 8,070.
8,070.
Yeah, so you are still referring to the old.
You are right. 8,070.
So it's 8,070 confirmed cases.
But we're still 36.
2,947 recoveries and 36 deaths so far. And with other people, some are severely ill. One is in ventilator and all, and etc. So, but Kwame, that is it. So, but I think that. We have to applaud the president and we have to support him, but the president also did indicate we have gotten to where we are in our success because of the collective cooperation of the people of Ghana. So he's further urging us that yes, we can still make more, we can still make it better than where we found ourselves. So let's look at easing some of the areas that are more critical to our lives. So and but still be mindful of the existence of the virus and adhere to the protocol. So we will be fine. We'll be fine. So Kwame, my worry now is the implementation of some of the things the president has mentioned. That is my worry. For instance, if you take the church service, the president said it should not be more than 25%. Before that, your data has to be taken in terms of number, your full name, maybe your address or your contact number has to be there. Constant. The wearing of nose masks is law. You have to be on nose masks. And the distancing, the 1 meter distancing at our churches and mosques is very, very important. So Kwame, I think that elsewhere, if you've seen, last week I watched people praying in Turkey in a mosque. Kwame, there were this 1 meter distancing. Even the mosque, inside the mosque is redesigned and it's well demarcated. So when you enter, you just know where you are going to stand. But I am also hearing other people thinking that maybe with that spacing, maybe did not form part. So I am here to ask more. But when we are in abnormal times, certain decisions have to be taken. And Kwame, congregational prayers is very important. So, but you know, when you come to we Muslims, how it is supposed to be done. But Kwame, I don't think where we are, even if we space and pray, God will not answer our prayers. But I took it upon myself. I'll ask more scholars to get more information about it. Maybe others said that maybe if it's about creating the space, then we should still be under full lockdown and the mosque should still be closed. And I totally disagree with that, even though I'm still yet to ask and research more into it. Others have done it. I've seen people in Pakistan praying and they have created distance, 1 meter distance, Turkey and other Muslim countries across the world. So it is not their fault. It is because of the situation. You still want to serve your God, but still preserve and protect the life of your own people. Kwame, if you die, you will not be there to serve your Lord. Maybe some people we have sinned and we have not been able to do so much things to cover some of the sins that we have done. So we still need more time to pray and appease God for forgiving. So people need to be alive and pray. So, but Kwame, I think that as a country, we have to applaud and support the president in his quest. So this is the first stage, according to the president. So Kwame, I am sure and convinced that with the full implementation and adherence to the laws and regulations, and I think that we'll be fine as a people.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much, Mujeeb. Well, if you just joined us, you're watching the News Preview segment here on Pan-African Television. For those of you who are asking about my outfit, I know many people
I told you it's fantastic.
Let me just give the designer's number. It's 0244 0244 417 855 0244 417-855. That's the number of the guy who
you are marketing. You are marketing.
I know.
So he has to give you discount.
0244-417-855. That's the designer's number. But let me come to you now and hear from you, Soprano, on this subject matter. Do you think that we're there? I mean, lifting the restrictions, easing the restrictions, but also still operating under a certain level of caveat, because you know that the numbers cannot exceed a certain limit, and also political rallies for now are still halted. Although that we can also, I think, speak to about 100 people, but observing the right protocols and things like that. Churches can resume, can only operate for 1 hour. I think that even going forward, whether or not we completely lift the lockdown, churches must still operate for 1 hour. That's all.
Well, I mean.
Because bro, it has really brought some. I didn't think my area was that quiet too.
Kwame,
I'm telling you. I mean, yesterday I woke up and the whole place was so quiet. I'm like, oh wow.
Kwame,
I actually think, you know.
Apart from thinking, Kwame, this fortunate period of peace and quiet, because I think that is the most important achievement of President Akufo-Addo ever since he assumed the presidency. Yes, this COVID-19 has enabled the president to pass these laws that have ultimately brought a certain peacefulness to this country, so that, Kwame, these days I'm able to, I wake up at 4:30 a.m. every morning, and so I'm able to commune with God having all kinds of conversation with Jesus Christ because of the peace and quiet that President Akufo-Addo, by the grace of God, has brought upon Ghana with his instructions. You see, Kwame, behind my house is a Presbyterian church. Normally, you can't sleep. And you know, this pastor, you know, when they are praying, they pray in tongues. And it is sequenced. You know, so you have somebody who will come and start and say, hey, hey, then another person will say, and the third person will say, who, and the three of them combine into some kind of cacophony that is supposed to be prayer and disturb us. And then at the end of it, or the pastor, it turns out, this Presbyterian pastor, it turns out that he's living in an oasis of peace and tranquility somewhere. Nobody is disturbing him. Tuesday morning, he's there. Wednesday evening, he's there. Friday night, the whole night, he's there. Saturday, they come and do practice. Sunday. So, this 1 hour thing, you know, and I think maybe they should let the churches also soundproof. So that is it with the church situation, Kwame. By and large, I think that the president has handled the pandemic well. I'll give him good. You understand? There are those, of course, like Mujeeb, who would want to say that the president has done extraordinarily well. They might want to even mark him excellent. But Mujeeb, the president's performance is not so much because the president is such a great guy, as much as it is because there exist in this Republic of Ghana institutions that support such actions that have benefited the president. Let me explain myself further. You see, Kwame, the civil service, our elite civil service and public services, okay, over the years, the Public Service Commission has built a certain infrastructure in this country that is able to support, you know, good project management. So what I'm saying is that the president has done well. I mark him good for leadership. But the work that has been done, the success story of the Ghanaian situation, you know, the Ghanaian response to COVID-19 is a victory for the civil and public service, not a victory for Nana Akufo-Addo. You understand? Nana Akufo-Addo is barely able to create jobs. He has done good, you know, supervising all of this. But the glory should go to those who deserve the glory. I'm talking about the civil servants and the public servants. You understand? So in that regard, you could say that Nana is doing his best. You know, he did very well with the free SHS. I'm surprised they've not connected the free SHS to the COVID. But if you know, I talk about it sometimes that Nana, I'm coming. I'm making a point. Let me elaborate. You see, Nana Akufo-Addo. Please let me elaborate. You see, everything when we say, they say free SHS. You know, so Nana Akufo-Addo has done very well with the free SHS. And when you look through all of his activities, I look. Okay, now he has also done quite good with the COVID-19. So Nana is picking up. It's just that he's running out of time. You see, but I can also understand that we need to reopen, Kwame, because this, you know, lockdown, okay, versus reopening is a certain balancing act. You understand that, Mujeeb, you would agree, when Nana initiated the lockdown, the number of cases was not as high as it is today. Okay, so despite the fact that the case count is going up, you know, Nana is, you know, easing restrictions, but that is what is happening around the world.
Why do you think that is happening?
Because
let's get into the meat of what the president said. The president said he's easing the restrictions because at some point lives must be restored to normal. So why do you think the president did that?
Look, Kwame, the answer to that is multifaceted, and I'll just like to tackle two quickly because of the time constraints. You understand? Of course, Nana Akufo-Addo is a father, okay, and a husband, and you know, and a patriot. So he has, he's inclined to want to, you know, do things that would elevate, you know, the fortunes of this country. You understand? But I think one must be honest and sincere.
Is it political? Is it more political?
It is because of the election.
Explain.
You see, that's what I'm getting to. So despite the fact that Nana is a great daddy and granddaddy and the president, you know, blessing the MPP people, and despite the fact that he's not able to create jobs and everything, you know, he's doing quite well with this pandemic. He's doing his best. And the reality is that Nana has a few months to go. Now his position is very, very, very shaky. As it were, you know, he was not able to be creating jobs, when before the COVID-19 crisis. You know, even the few jobs that were there, especially in the financial sector, he shut them down in the name of restructuring. The other day I was listening to a certain fair lady, I think Hannah, the former a certain sister or something like that, you know,
Gabriela.
Yeah, Gabriela, precisely. And
on the show,
and she was talking to another guy, Saka or something, and Saka was saying, "Oh, the MPP, we have done a lot of soft infrastructure." Okay, so excuse me. So what is happening is that although Nana wants to keep things shut down, he's got to balance it with the fact that he has to keep his job, which is on the line in December, as you know. So I think that the primary reason is that you know, he wants to get an opportunity to be campaigning. You know, under the circumstances.
But rallies are not. Are exempted.
Sure.
I mean, but he specifically intimated that the EC, the NIA, can go about their constitutionally mandated activities.
Sure.
And that for me raised a lot of red flags, and you know, raised my eyebrows as to the real import, or if you will, the real reason behind the lifting of
so Kwame, the political consideration cannot be negated.
Yeah.
However, I wanted to juxtapose the fact that Nana is gradually easing the restrictions. You know, I want to juxtapose Ghana's situation under Nana's leadership to that of the Swedish government, who, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Sweden. They never even locked down in the first place. You see, and so that example is also a guiding principle. You understand? Kwame, there's also the issue. Nana also talked about the students going back to school. Okay, and that's also quite important, because especially for the private schools, their staff are not paid if they don't go to school. You know, Kwame, if you are a teacher in the government working for the public school, for the government, okay, what happens is they will pay you anyway. You know, because these teachers in the government sector, Mujeeb, they are part of the 600,000 people employed by government that the Auditor General was talking about. I'm talking about the 600,000 employees of government that spend more than 54% of Ghana's annual income. So they are paid. You know, they are staying at home, civil servants, enjoying at home, being paid whilst they are at home. But if you are in the private sector, if you are a teacher in a private school, Nana Akufo-Addo has not sent any money your way, so you have not been paid. So I can understand the pressure on Nana Akufo-Addo to open some parts or some portions of the educational institutions, so that at least whilst the teachers in the public sector, members of the 600 elite Ghanaians enjoying all that 52-54% of our money, whilst they are being paid all these big money whilst they are enjoying at home, the teachers, Ghanaians, who are teaching in the private schools, they can get something small and get some coins and drink some cocoa. You see, whilst the teachers in the public sector are eating chicken, those elite people. You understand? So we are very conscious of the fact that Nana Addo is doing this so that private, you know, sector teachers will also get something. Take note, Mujeeb, this year there will be 145,000 students going to the universities, according to the Ministry of Education. You understand? So we are waiting to see the miracle that Nana Akufo-Addo will do this time around with regards to this unprecedented number going into our universities under the circumstances, with COVID-19, you know, backing, you know, at our throats. You understand? And all the challenges we are facing, the lack of infrastructure, you understand, to accept all of these 145,000 new students. So although we appreciate that Nana Akufo-Addo took a brave decision by implementing the free SHS strategy that he is pursuing, we are also disappointed that he never listened to anybody, and there have not been very little additional schools built, you know, all over the country for tertiary or secondary. So we are expecting a very difficult situation, and we would want Nana Akufo-Addo to look at the CPP playbook. We in the glorious CPP, we have strategies. Nana Akufo-Addo should not be afraid, you know, to come and take some of these strategies to benefit the entire populace of this republic. You understand? So that is also another challenge. You understand? One key item about the educational reopenings is also that we expect that there must be the implementation of shift systems, morning and evening, if we are to contain these unprecedented numbers that have been foisted upon us because of Nana Akufo-Addo's actions with regards to the free SHS, which we actually do like, I must add, Mujeeb. You see, and then we also... I'm not lost. I'm addressing the issue. I'm addressing the issue of the reopening of schools. Okay, and I'm giving you statistics. That is going to be extra difficult because no, hold on, hold on. Now. Sure, and but eventually we all have to go back to school.
Let's allow him.
And then we also want to suggest to Nana that he should intensify the e-learning regime that is emerging. You see, he should intensify it so that some of the courses could be done online. This would be a very good strategy. And if it were not for the fact that Nana Akufo-Addo and the Minister of Finance, they refuse to scrap the communication tax, that high tax. You know it was 6% communication tax, and then they increased it by a whopping 50% to 9%. You understand? This issue, Kwame, of the communication tax at 9% is a big bother for me, even before the pandemic. Now, in the presence of the pandemic, within this period of the pandemic, if the communication tax is 9%, then it means that parents are finding it even more difficult to be able to finance e-learning for their children, because you need to buy a bundle to be able to do that. You see, but even prior to this pandemic and its implications for the educational sector, I have been of the opinion that it should be scrapped. You see, because, Kwame, the e-sector, the internet sector, is creating unprecedented numbers of jobs for this economy. And when you consider that Nana Akufo-Addo's government is not able to create jobs by and large, you know, but the internet is giving jobs to people at Uber, etc., and then now e-learning, and the communication tax is 9%, a whopping 9%, then I'm at a loss, especially when you take into consideration that Ghanaians have been experiencing a certain extraordinary tax under President Akufo-Addo called the dollar-CD exchange. When President Akufo-Addo came to power, the dollar was 4 cedis, 65 pesos. Today, it is 6 cedis. Ghanaians should understand that it is a massive hidden tax imposed upon us by the inability of the New Patriotic Party to keep the dollar and the city at a stable flashpoint. This is a key point. It's one of the reasons why we are continuing to suffer. We are continuing to suffer even whilst Ghana is still not able to create jobs under this pandemic conditions. So, by and large, we are very happy that things are moving forward. Nana has no option. The economy is in trouble. He is standing for re-election. His job is on the line. He is shaking. Nana Akufo-Addo is shaking, prior to the election in December. So Nana is now, I can see a certain desperation creeping into the NPP's actions vis-a-vis the continued staying in office of Nana Akufo-Addo and all the fantastic jobs that his followers and his friends and cronies, etc., have gotten because of that. So Nana is doing his best. We wish him all the best in his efforts. He talks about the borders that he's going to keep the borders closed per his executive authority, stemming from the executive action that he's taken from Parliament, and we agree with that. The quarantine procedure is great, but especially with regards to our land borders and sea borders, they are so porous. The other day I went to Elmina. I have a friend in Elmina. I want to visit him, and we saw some people coming from the sea with a canoe. I thought they were bringing fish, so I met them at the beach, and they told me they were coming from Cote d'Ivoire. I said, oh, really? They said, yeah, they went to do some 1 or 2 and fishing in Cote d'Ivoire. So the people can simply enter our countries by canoe. So I want to use this opportunity to also appeal to Ghanaians. Look, we are in this together, okay? So if you see somebody crossing the border illegally, you should exercise your Ghanaian citizenship and probably apprehend him or get him apprehended. But in conclusion, by and large, we just want to wish Nana Akufo-Addo the best as he continues to struggle to, create a better Ghana for all of us. We wish Nana Akufo-Addo the best. He's suffering, but I think
why is he suffering?
Oh no, the job is so big, and when you look at the indices, the fact that he's not able to create jobs, I'm not sure he's happy, and so I think he's suffering inside his heart.
No, but see, you're not being fair to the president.
You think so?
I mean, the president has created jobs.
Please, okay.
There's one thing
the tree planting exercise.
There's NAPCO, isn't it?
That's a tree planting.
There's
exercise.
NAPCO too. So
you said last time you told me that you would contact Mr. Sir John and tell us what trees is he planting. Are they planting Abrofonkatia trees or neem tree, or are they what tree? Because they are economic trees. Maybe we are hoping they planted rubber, because you see, President Kwame Nkrumah planted 22,000 acres with 2,000 people in less than 3 years in the western region. So with Sir John getting all the resources he's gotten, and all the national service people, and all that money, we want to know what trees is Sir John planting. Is he planting a neem tree or a mahogany tree? Please, Mujeeb, we are still waiting for that answer.
Or a family tree.
Or a family tree.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So that was Soprano's submission regarding the fact that the president has eased restrictions to a very little extent, and of course you also listen to Mujeeb. Mujeeb is in full praises of the president's decision regarding the easing of the restrictions and things like that, because he believes that, look, some way somehow we should get to that point where the economy will be opened,
but Kwame,
so that yes, please.
Just let me even add
no, I'll allow you.
I don't. It's not even strange or anything.
We're definitely going to get there.
Like in terms of even when you are talking of elections. No, but the point is, election is part of us. Now we are education. We are talking of education. You think?
So I mean,
no, but even if those institutions that are mandated to go through the electoral process, Kwame, December we have to have election.
No, granted.
And the people of Ghana have to decide
granted.
It's the right of the people.
But if that is the primus inter pares in the decision that we have taken, I think that we should demonstrate that clearly.
No, but who told you that? You are now conjecturing. You are now.
No. I mean, but if you leave,
the president has given a full-blown speech.
With the grace of respect,
across
with the grace of respect,
you decided.
With the grace of respect, I think that you would also bear with many who believe that there is some underhand or some shadow hand in all of these matters is because of the president's continuous silence in respect of the EC matter. He's the president of the land. He must be vocal, about whether or not he supports the actions of the EC or not. Because, and also I can appreciate, because EC is independent, blah blah blah, but he's still the president of the land. He's the appointing authority.
No, the point is, the point is, what do you expect the president to do in this EC matter? You expect the president to come out and say, don't compile a new register? Won't that amount to interference of the electoral
interference of what?
Electoral commission.
Interference of what? People, no, but Charlotte Osei was removed. That was also interference, but some way, somehow she was removed.
So it's the president who removed Charlotte Osei?
But the president acted on some frivolous reasons.
That is what you decide to call it. And that is the law.
That's the whole point.
No, but
that's interference.
I listen to the...
That's interference, because procurement is not the direct obligation of the electoral commission.
One thing the president is always talking about.
Because the law is clear.
But the president don't also direct the day-to-day administration.
The president is always talking about stare decisis. He talks about it all the time. Judicial precedent. You understand? The leading judicial precedent of any nation is the actions of the president. You understand?
Let me read a few of the messages that have come through. Yase Arafat says the president is making more rescue the life of Ghanaians. He's also adding more victims of this virus. We Ghanaians must fight for ourselves. Musa Abatu and Command says, good morning to you, heavyweight champion KOD. Almost all universities are ending the semester, with some in the revision week. So what will the final year students go to the campuses to do? However, EC and NIA are exempted from all restrictions. It's clear agenda for EC to compile new voters register, and we resist with our last blood. National House of Chiefs has spoken. The power that should be listened. The power that should listen. Jen Mensah-led EC should listen to the voice of reasoning. Ghana belongs to all of us, not Jen Mensah and President Kufuor alone. The self-centered, self-seeking people must not jeopardize the peaceful environment for their parochial interests. This was sent to us on Facebook by Musa Abatwa. Amadou Kamilu says, shut up. It happened, shut up. It happened in Ghana. It happens in Ghana always. The shooting of Ameswale, no one talked about it. Edwina Okuajo, go ahead with your good job. Thank you. Charles Kwachi, even if they do not resist arrest, the police will still do the same thing. So it is time to fight back. These blacks can kill themselves because they belong to the different gangs, but look at the whites killing them. What's wrong here? After all, they all have gangs. Can't they use them? Is in the Second Amendment not applied to them also? Ghana should get ready for its share soon. Roosevelt Kofi. Charles Nyame in Asamanke says, my deepest disappointment last night was the omission of incentive packages for frontline teachers, especially when they are going back to put their lives at risk in schools. Our survival is indeed in our own hands. Also, good morning to Honorable Michael Eduse of Lower West Akim constituency. Hussein is okay for signing to our in Asamanke says, good morning to KOD and your panelists. When the COVID cases was 2, we imposed heavy restrictions. But when we had over 8,000, when we have over 8,000 cases, we have eased restrictions. And it's become clear that the Nekufuado and NPP government do not deserve any 4 more years to come and kill us. Tanko Mohammed says, 007 Sarah Junction in Tamale. Good morning, Champion KOD, and to your panelists. The easing of restrictions is good, but not when it's done so to give the EC and NI the laxity to carry out their nocturnal activities. The president values elections more than the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian. Simpliciter. Francis Esiamwa says, good morning to KOD. The lifting of the lockdown is just for the MPP primaries, not for the benefit of Ghanaians. Francis from Adenta sent in that one. Adam Abdullah Alfred says, good morning to you. Even the electricity and water the president said is giving for 3 months for free is false. My credit for the light was even deducted this month by 15 Ghana cedis. Allah will surely pay us with our own coins. Abdul Kamal says, Kanu, you say, most of them are coming through the land, Boko. I have been going and seeing people coming. I think he's referring to what you said, Soprano.
Yes, sir.
Well, Kometijani are watching, Sam Wakati is watching, Fuseni Zokifel was watching. Okobano says the EC must be very careful with the lives of Ghana. MPP are 419. My very, very good friend, Prosper Hoetu, is watching. Abubakar Kotinuruddin Bitis is also watching. Alex Apia, I'm for BM. Bernard Mona, you mean? You are also watching. And Richmond Amufasa upon the hosts of Youth Empowerment TV show is also watching. Let me do a few of the WhatsApp messages before we go to the other issues. I hope, yeah, you guys should just grant me a little latitude. Nana Akufo-Addo is gambling with the life of Ghanaians because logically, now that the cases of infections are on the rise, he rather chose to ease the restrictions in order to pave way for their primaries and new voter register ambition, forgetting that when it's time to change, whatever dubious effort you make against the will of the masses will end up spelling your doom. Nicholas from Aflao. And that also reminds me what somebody posted on Facebook. It says the president said the borders should remain closed because some people will come and register and vote for the NDC. So those people are CPP members, I'm highly disappointed in you. What Osofo Chilabosom is doing is what you should have been doing to promote CPP to Ghanaians. Dauda from Kumasi sent in this one. Now this one says, Kwame, you see what is happening in Ghana? Since when a heavily security personnel are on guard at the EC chairperson's house? I'm watching live from Jamasi in the Ashanti region. Good morning to you, KOD. The people of Upper West region are operating drinking bars. Jack sent in this one. What do you have them do? They have to survive too. Even though I don't encourage that. Good morning to you, KOD and your panelists. The hypocrisy of this government is mountain high. How can the government act through the AG to connive with the EC to push through Buzia-sized CI to disenfranchise the poor rural folks? Allah is the best judge. Honorable Alhaji Doku sent in this one. KOD, good morning. The CPP man is on point. Now I want to know whether the third years and their teachers have different immune systems that cannot be infected by COVID-19. John from Ho sent in this one. And the messages are pouring in fast and quick. Mufti from Greater Kumasi, Ayuja, says, Kwame, good morning to you. Kwame, is the president confused because he sent final year students and Gold Track Form 2 to go back to school? And he came back again and said all educational facilities, be it private or government, non-final year students should remain closed. So I don't know if the Form 2 Gold are final year students. Mufti from Greater Kumasi, Ayuja. How will the final year foreign students enter Ghana for their final exams? Nemo from Tech Junction. Since borders have remained closed. Nemo from Tech Junction. Tech Junction. I was in Kenya, so Tech Junction was a place that I used to hang out a lot. BD Sly in Nadoli Kalio says, good morning to you, KOD. There were only 2 regions that recorded COVID-19 cases prior to the partial lockdown. Immediately the partial lockdown was lifted to date, almost all our regions have recorded COVID-19 cases, and the cases continue to hike, and now we are hovering over 8,000. While ease restrictions where the spread of the virus isn't contained, the political science decision is terrible. And as for the 50% frontline workers, greetings to the incoming successor of Right Honorable Bagman, Honorable Anthony Suma. Honorable Anthony Suma. Good morning to KOD, sir. Sir Gaftly from Kukrentumi. Today, all my people are watching me from Kukrentumi to Aija to Jamase to Asante Mampong. I was hoping the president will ease restrictions in all sectors other than of the schools. I'm saying this because I don't know how students will practice social distancing whilst on break and in the dormitories. That's a very good, interesting point, eh? Good morning to you, Champion KOD. Today, I see you as a real Pan-Africanist in the studio. You look good. The president is just Azar. We know that. Bibi from Accra sent in this one. Kwame, let the president know that most of us are living in fear for the argument between EC, MPP, and opposition party NDC for compilation of the new voters register. We are waiting on him to come out and tell us something meaningful to suicide, I don't know what to be, the tension to subside, if you, I think you will, the tension in the country. From Atalipi in Ejura. Francis from Sunyani says, good morning to you, KOD. Let the EC chair understand that we Ghanaians will storm every registration center in the country to resist any attempt to compile a new voters register, because we will not allow the EC chair to infect people with COVID-19 virus. Please, good morning, my dear. The MPP is the downfall of Ghana since Dr. Nkrumah's time till now. Former President Mahama should call for press conference and includes Peace Council, paramount chiefs and religious leaders, and declare the bad state of the nation to them, and keep quiet to see what will happen. From Sami in Sunyani. This one says, good morning to you, KOD. Why can't government test teachers and students in endemic areas where the schools are located? But to give a blanket statement that it is not feasible to test all teachers and students, didn't they expect this? Dan from Banana Inn in Dansoman sent in this one. The attendance of churches and mosques should be 25% across, to be fair to all worship building sizes. For instance, 100 people in building capacity of 200 people is 50% attendance, while 100 people in a worship building of 2,000 capacity is just 5% attendance. Marcus Gavi from Navrongo sent in this one. Wonderful KOD, good morning to you. What is happening in the US? Same is being perpetuated here in Ghana by Rahman, Mujeeb and the MPP. If a minister opens a mouth to say we have taken over our country, what does it imply? They should know they know who are Ghanaians and non-Ghanaians. Bulamatari inside Greater Kaswa sent in this one. Good morning to you, Kwame, and good morning to your panelists. It's worrying that the MPP communicators keep asking for how long we can live with these restrictions. It's about the lives and not the convenience. The MPP and its allies should know that all these critical times we need to inconvenience ourselves in order to get rid of COVID-19. Kwame, there is no logic in easing up restrictions when our numbers are soaring. Big Adams from Wa sent in this one. Hudu from Obuasi says, please, are they the senior high school gold track too? Well, so these are some of the very few, okay, so on Joy, Kojo Ponkroma said, we don't have to wear masks for more than 1 hour. That is why churches are meeting for an hour. Is the EC and NI officials going to do the same? From Kofi Nkrumah? People are asking very intelligent questions this morning. Very, very intelligent questions this morning. And this is why I love my viewers on Pan-African television, because they ask very intelligent questions. By the way, let me say a special good morning to you, Mash Taylor, to Same Boachi in Asaman Kese, to Landlord, Bolga D-Line, to Masaudu in Kumasi, and to most of my viewers who started with me from the beginning, to Musa Batwa in Kumasi, to Alhaji Hamza in Pig Farm, and to all of you, thank you. Also Dipku Ishmael Wa'u Traffic, special good morning to you. Let's come back and look at the other issues here. Now I want us to do this, yeah? I want us to marry the topic 2 and the topic 4. It says, MPP Guru rejects new register, calls on Electoral Commission to strengthen existing voters' role, right? Captured aptly on the front page of the Inside newspaper. Now, also captured prominently on the front page of the Daily Guide is new voters register, NDC position absurd, EC is firing. Now, over the weekend, we also saw a release from the National House of Chiefs. Very instructive. The National House of Chiefs, very instructive. In fact, in the letter, they indicated that they had extended a voice of invitation to the EC, to the decline of the EC. The EC declined completely. That they wanted to sit with the EC, to have a conversation, have a tete-a-tete, and see how they could forge ahead relative to, even if the EC wanted to compile the voters register. But at least they would have contributed quite significantly to the success story of it. The EC declined. The EC didn't want to have anything to do with that. And so it begs the question as to whose interest really the EC is serving. It raises a lot of red flags, raises a lot of eyebrows, because if people who are representing communities and who are representing large paramounts, who are paramounts, paramount chiefs, are inviting you for a conversation regarding your decision, which is unpopular, to compile a new voters register, and you decline in such a disrespectful manner, then the question really is very fundamental. It's basic. In whose interest are you serving? Are you serving the people of Ghana, or you are serving one political party's interest, or you are serving your own interest as the Electoral Commission because you want history to also remember you for having compiled a voters register? Let me start with you, my very good friend Sylvester Soprano, on this matter.
Thank you much, Kwame. As you know, I have been one that always supported the compilation of a new voters register.
You have been in support of it?
Oh yeah, if you remember that I said that we should, I've always been in support of the register, okay? Because especially when it made sense to do it, I should add, okay? Because Kwame, you see, the Convention People's Party, despite what anybody might be thinking, you see, we are really doing what we believe is necessary to, put our party, the glorious CPP, on an even keel. Okay, so that we can contest the elections, the presidential and parliamentary elections in this country from a position of strength. We are confident that the people of Ghana are tired. They are fed up with what I call the clueless duopoly. The clueless duopoly of the made up of the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress. In that they are playing some musical chairs, NDC and MPP. They are playing musical chairs with the fortunes of Ghana. You understand? Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP come into power. They make all kinds of promises, knowing that the mandate is 4 years. Yet they make all kinds of fantastic promises, dams and factories and all kinds of promises. Okay, then when it is 4 months to go to the election, they say that, oh, you know what? We couldn't deliver on the promises we made, although we knew we had a mandate for 4 years. So now we are begging you to give us 4 more to do more. So the question becomes, 4 more to do more of what? You see, because we gave you 4 years, you knew before you came to stand for the election that the mandate was 4 years. You made all kinds of promises, okay. Promises, yes, okay. And then you said that we should give you 4 more years. So we look at that situation. And then so the CPP were thinking that, in the advent of defeat, you understand? So we look at the way the NPP is determined to get a new register, and the way they've been, dissing, as we say, the way they've been denigrating the old register, factually or not. And we think that, what, let us go for the new register, because the Convention People's Party, we believe we can win, and we don't want a situation whereby we defeat Nana Akufo-Addo at the polling station, and he will go to the Supreme Court crying that we have robbed him. You understand? He will be crying and say that, Supreme Court, please, it's a stolen verdict. The people have robbed me. So we in the Convention People's Party were feeling that we want to defeat Nana Akufo-Addo with the Nana Akufo-Addo's register. And that was the main reason, because we believe that the mass of the people are suffering so much. They are so dejected because the president, apart from free SHS that he wants to force down our throats for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, there's not much that he can write home about. Okay, but then in comes COVID-19. There's a lockdown. The situation right now is really dicey. We are all living on edge. You don't know what is going to happen next. the COVID-19 virus seems to be moving, the epicenter of the COVID-19 virus seems to be moving from continent to continent. It used to be in China. It went to, Europe, Italy. It went to the United States. Look at the devastation wrought upon those United States. Now look at Brazil. So we in the Convention People's Party, we are sitting down scratching our heads, and we are, the next hotspot could be Africa. And if that is the case, you see, then we would be in trouble, because our healthcare infrastructure in the African countries are really weak. So we are very cautious. So far, as I said earlier, the institutional infrastructure that is, available to us by way of the civil and public services is what has been able to underpin Nana Akufo-Addo's effort. So it's not that the New Patriotic Party is such a good manager. It's because the civil service that has been existing in Ghana is among the most professional in Africa. Nana Akufo-Addo happens to be the leader of the civil service right now. The benefit, the glory for the fact that COVID-19 has not devastated the Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo can have some of the glory, but the majority belongs to the civil and public service institutions. You understand? We are not taking all the glory from Nana. Nana can have some, but not all. Okay, but now we have a situation whereby Nana Akufo-Addo is adamant. His party is adamant that we should have a new voters register. Mujeeb, when you get the chance to talk, I want you to tell me why your party is so adamant. Is this voters register food for the MPP that they insist on having a new voters register under these dire conditions? Mujeeb, so is it the case that Nana Akufo-Addo thinks that the voters register acquisition is more important than a potential epicenter emerging in this country as a result of the mingling that will ensue if we go to the polling station or the registration center to register? But look at the time constraints. You see, the time constraints are such that, Kwame, we believe that as Mr. P.C. Oforiatta, the eminent member of the eminent MPP group,
P.C. Apia Ofori.
Forgive me, P.C. Apia Ofori.
Yes.
You see, I've mistook him for the Minister of Finance because of the money that
so you go. Stay on track.
Sure, thank you. But we want the New Patriotic Party to understand that the lives of Ghanaians.
And Kweku Baako has also changed the stance on the compilation of the new voters register. Before,
yes, sir,
he was very rigid with his position.
Yes, sir.
Very adamant to opposing, positions.
Sure.
But over the weekend, it appears that he softened his stance a little bit.
A little bit, okay.
Yeah.
So Kwame, anyway, the point I'm making is that we wish, you see, when the president was speaking yesterday, I went to buy my, Hausa cocoa to come and sit down and watch the president speak. We CPP people, Hausa cocoa and things, you see. So I was sitting there listening to the president speak on my small TV, and the president came and he was speaking, President Akufo-Addo, and he was speaking, and he seems to want the voters register to go ahead by any means necessary. Kwame, you see, I was saying that the president appears to be a creature of judicial precedent. A lot of the time he says stare decisis, which means judicial precedent. And that the things we do, you see, but the president's office and the actions of the president is the leading judicial precedent of any nation, insofar as the president's office is a judicial position. You understand? So when the president insists
I don't get it's a judicial position.
My point is that no. Hold on. Let me make my point clear. If you don't understand, the president is a law enforcement officer, the leading law enforcement officer. You understand?
The president.
Yes, he is the one who appoints all the law enforcement officers who report to him ultimately.
Yeah, but that's an executive authority.
Sure. But please try and appreciate where I'm coming from. That, for instance, the president can give an instruction that supersedes the IGP. You understand? And therein lies his law enforcement abilities, which are the paramount in the country, in any country, because he's more powerful than the IGP. So the IGP could make a recommendation and the president could overrule it. And that's where I'm coming from. Okay. So you see, I'm saying that the president can tell the EC that let me make my point though.
No.
Don't let him confuse people.
I'm not confusing people. When
because you were mentioning judicial. You were mentioning judicial.
You can unconfuse them when you come in.
You were mentioning some judicial.
Yes.
But the stare decisive.
Yes.
How is that? No.
Hold on.
How is that incidental to this conversation?
No.
You're talking about the supremacy of the executive.
Sure.
You understand? The supremacy of the executive, I think, is known. I mean, which is why Parliament has tried so much to ensure that there's some checks and balances in the operation. But we practice an executive system in this country. So the president is an all-powerful man.
Yes.
So on that particular basis, I will not disagree with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But however, if you say that the president possesses some judicial authority and things like that, it's a bit.
Sure.
Maybe you should explain it.
Sure. So what I'm saying is that I see now. Of course, I stand to correction.
Or you want to say the president action should be an example to all those?
No. Let me speak and explain myself. What I'm saying is that the president's actions could be considered some type of judicial precedent. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
When the president appoints his brother as a minister of state, for whatever reason, including the fact that the person might be the most qualified person in Africa, you understand, he sets a precedent that subsequent presidents can, point to in, taking similar action. Okay. And therein lies where I think the president's position acts like a certain judicial precedent. You understand? And more apart from that, the president, our dear leader, President Akufo-Addo, our dear leader, he is a student of law. So he likes to do stuff like that. Anyway, the point I'm making here with regards to the issue at hand, which is Mrs. Jean Mensah's insistence that we must have a new voters register, even in the teeth of death by coronavirus, it beats my imagination. You understand? Despite the fact that I supported it earlier, as I indicated, Kwame, I think that in the light of the ensuing happenings, that Mrs. Jean Mensah might want to take a step back. You understand? The infrastructure to support the issuance of a new voters register is rather wobbly, to say the least. The NIA, who is supposed to be giving out these ID cards to be used for registration, has not completed its job. I, for one, have not gotten my card yet. So, are you, by the way, Mujeeb, are you guys planning to stop someone like me from voting at the polling station?
It would never register.
Because if you do stuff like that, then some of us will feel like you are challenging my citizenship and trying to disenfranchise me. And that will not do.
And that the Constitution frowns upon.
Which call?
Right, let me read.
Let's do a demonstration.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mujeeb, hold on. I'm coming to short. Let me just read a few of the messages here. Abraham Odate has written a very succinct piece on Facebook, and I think I need to read it out.
Yes, sir.
Abraham Odate is simply saying, rule of law is a principle under which all persons, institutions, and entities are accountable to laws that are publicly promulgated, equally enforced, independently adjudicated, and consistent with international human rights principles. So why Nana Mensah of Men's Good, Opuni Nyantechi, Wayomi, and those responsible for killing journalists and MP are not in prison? Why are they not in prison? Don't let them fool you. Don't let them fool you. Over hills and valleys too. Tanko Mohammed from 007, Sarah Johnson. I think I've read one of your messages already. Bababu Petrot says, from Tamale says, moved by His Excellency President Akufo-Addo to easing some restrictions, such final year students and religious activities is a step in the right direction. In fact, this too shall pass. The battle is still the Lord's. In fact, the NDC and its surrogates should give us a break with their useless propaganda. Karim Na Sani says, I like honest people. Rahim Top 7 says, good morning to you, KOD. Please, we want to know from the address whether vacation classes can be organized for the rest of the students that will be staying at home. This is a very great question as well. Sophia Moklu says, I keep asking myself, what was he saying? I keep asking myself several questions from day one after I got my NIA card to today without answers. Recently at the bank, I was told I cannot use my NIA card to clear a check because it hasn't been activated. Interestingly enough, I use same card to vouch to legitimize the citizenship of others. Okay, one quick question, which keep me thinking all day without answers. Am I going to use my unactivated NIA card to vouch for 10 persons, which means that their right to citizenship depends on my illegitimate NIA card? I don't know the import of this question because your NIA card is not illegitimate. It's only because it has not been activated because it's not been, so it's not upstream for now. From the old Dipku Ishmael in Wa Traffic, Dipku says, say to you, champion of champions, champion KOD, my brother Mujeeb, and my CPP comrade. Champion, The core reason for easing the restrictions is to allow EC and NI to rig the elections to keep him in power come December 7th. Champion, why is this incompetent EC chair so wicked? Why insist on registering Ghanaians when there's a pandemic? Madam Jane Mensah is the biggest threat to Ghana's democracy. Champion, birth and death registry should be scrapped because Jane said birth certificate isn't a requirement. A single Ghanaian life is more precious and important than 30 million Ghana cards. God bless our homeland Ghana. Greetings to Bunas, NDC chairman for Upper West Region. Hashtag I stand with Bernard Mona. Good morning to you, Keori. Are you aware Zimbabwe has summoned the U.S. envoy on George Floyd's murder? Sarpong is right. Nana should do something. Kwesi inside Takoradi. And Kwesi has sent me a video of the American George Floyd, who was killed right under the knee of a very ruthless police officer. Babamu from Tamale Central Abuabo, the EC timetable is welcome. We urge them to stay focused and deliver to us competent and credible electoral process. NDC are losing the plot. They better come around and face reality. Keori, my regards to you. My regards to you as well, Babamu. I have missed AU Farouk in Tamale North. Let me read his message this morning. It says, good morning to you. Send and to your able panelists. In fact, easing the restrictions by the president is just to allow the EC and NIA to plan their rigging strategies, but we will resist that heartless move. AU Farouk sent in that one. AU Farouk is also an ardent viewer, ardent viewer of the morning show. A father who has 2 children and variant sentiment, fine, prudent way of dealing with the 2 children, so that it will not seem as if you love one more than the other. I urge the EC to dissociate itself from being aligned to a particular political party, because that can be dangerous for our infant democracy. Thank you. Clement DDK from Adenta sent in this one in. If political leaders are mentally centered with their political and tribalistic sentiment, then the citizens suffer. Akwampaga Barnabas, Pagawiyingani, Pagawiyingani. Champion, I salute you. Champion, I salute you too. Mujeeb, let's fire. No, you're done.
I was almost finished.
No, you're done.
In a sentence.
You said thank you, Kwame.
No, say, oh,
Please.
Mujeeb,
let's go. Mujeeb, let's go.
We don't read notes here. Kwame, yeah, but Kwame, Kwame, I want to put it in records today that the MPP position with regards to a credible, transparent register did not start today, and it didn't start in 2020. Senior, if you recalled, prior to the election 2016, you know, let my vote count demonstration. What was the purpose of the demonstration? We felt that there was something wrong with the register we have. So we wanted it clean so that the outcome of the results will be accepted by all. That was the position of the New Patriotic Party, and we did everything. We could not get it, but some members of the party individual went to court. That brought the Abu Ramadan case. So that was where the issue of the National Health Insurance Card was scrapped. And names that those who use it to register, the Electoral Commission were directed to go and expunge those people, those names from the register. And I know that a committee was set up, but led up by Justice A.C. Crabb, may his own reason be, to VC Crabb, so to get certain names. So when you are asking of a basis of the New Patriotic Party in respect of a very transparent voter register, it didn't start today. And I believe you have been monitoring the political development in this country, not only under the reign of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So you would have understand the position. But mind you, we are not speaking for the Electoral Commission. We are not spokesperson of the Electoral Commission. I don't work with the Electoral Commission. No MPP member. Bosman Asari and who are there, they have their spokesperson. But except that we also are interested party in this matter. And we will continue to talk. We'll continue to talk and make sure the long-held position that we have, if we are getting it this time around, but you
respect our traditional leaders,
but nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying you shouldn't respect traditional leaders. But it has to be very done appropriately. I'm coming to that question, Kwame, you've asked us. That is number one. Number two, let's also respect the EC because that is where we have decided. And the laws that has given them the mandate to do what they are supposed to do. Let's don't look at the EC and look at the individual. Oh, Jim Mensah was my classmate. I'm coming. Not you alone. Jim Mensah was my classmate. Maybe I was more brilliant than her. So you just, no. You look at the structure and you look at what they have been tasked to do. And you look at the law that is guiding them. I hope you are getting the argument. Tomorrow, who knows? You might be the one that is appointed to head the electoral commission. But we have to give you the due respect. But let's be very serious. You are CPP, find out from Kabila. Even under Charlotte Osai, there was a long decision that after the 2016 election, they were going to look into the register by way of making sure they clean and make it more acceptable by all parties. So it was there before the appointment of Jim Mensah and her group to come and stay the affairs of the Electoral Commission. But what is the interest here? So you want to see what happened at the 2012 Supreme Court and all those things, that people went to court challenging the decision, the verdict of the elections?
No, I told you I don't. That's why.
So Kwame, I think that we, as a whether NDC, CPP, MPP, we need a very credible voter register. Yeah. So now my argument too, why is, if you are asking MPP, why is it that we want a compilation of a new register? Why is it that NDC is also against the compilation of a new register?
And why does the EC also want?
Now the point is, but look at the inconsistency of the NDC. Initially, when this whole thing started without COVID, their position on the voter register was on cost. That the cost and the amount involved in compiling the new register was so much that there were a lot of things that we don't have as a country, that we needed agent. We could have channeled this money into those areas.
But I've moved from that position.
But now nobody is talking about the cost.
No, I think it's part of their conversation.
Oh, but
they spoke about the fact that, they spoke respectfully, they spoke about the fact that it's expensive. They spoke about the fact that even the equipments are not in. They spoke about the fact that now, currently, they are speaking about the fact that the facial recognition, for which reason they want to now change the whole system, is not even part of the equipment that they bought.
You see,
and COVID-19.
Let me be very sincere with you. At a point, you could see they are raising genuine questions. But it is not the duty of the New Patriotic Party to be answering them those questions. If you are talking of maybe procurement of equipment, the equipment has not arrived, but you have your work is bound by timeline to do. These are questions that the genuine questions they should be asking the Electoral Commission, and I think they will have opportunity to appear before Parliament, and I think that all these questions will be answered in Parliament. Okay. So we are waiting, and I think maybe it's next month. Okay. Maybe whether is it 10 or 12 June. Okay. The Electoral Commissioner will be appearing. No, Kwame, I haven't finished. No, Kwame, that is the inquiry. So now I am not hearing the issue of cost that much. Now what I'm hearing is about because we are not in normal times because of COVID-19, and we all appreciate the fact that COVID is real, is dangerous, and it kills. So let's try to prevent ourselves and save people's lives. So whatever we are doing, we have to guide ourselves and make sure that out there is not safe. So let's be cautious. Let's put up measures to make sure we don't endanger the life of the citizens by way of trying to compile a new register. Because based on that, Electoral Commission came out with certain proposals that they are also mindful of the fact that we are not in normal times, but they have a mandate to discharge. That mandate is what? The mandate is to organize the 2020 election. Kwame, I have a question before I proceed. So in all this, so I've asked my friends in NDC, you don't want the December 2020 elections, December 7th. We should stop the elections.
Why?
That is my question.
But
it's a process. Something must lead to one thing. So the process has to go. So on election day, even though it's one day, but when people go and mass up to vote,
but people have questions.
Can people contract the disease? And no, I am coming. The point is, we are people, rational, and we'll find a way of making sure we don't endanger people's lives. Sure. But Kwame, these issues of the election too is also critical on our forward march as a country.
But the fact is that when something is subject of controversy, you tread cautiously.
Of course.
Because you see, our democracy is very, very young. It's infantile.
Kwame,
Kwame,
please, I get your.
All right,
Kwame,
please.
what is Kwame? I want you to tell me. Maybe I still stand that the EC is a body doing their work, but we are also interested in what they do because we are stakeholders.
Yeah.
Now, but Kwame, also tell me, what do you think that they are doing is not right? Maybe you are a citizen of Ghana. You have the right to say it. Voice, look at the camera and tell us that A, B, C, D in your view that the Electoral Commission headed by Jemensa is doing, it's not right. That has the potentiality of putting this country at risk one day. Let us know.
Anyway, no, hold on. Let Mujeeb land respectfully.
Yeah, Kwame, so that is my word. So,
Okay.
Kwame, you see, just to join the chorus wagon that we won't accept, that is maybe some people personal
Opinion.
not opinion, personal benefit or all those. But at that point, understand some of these people are just talking. Yeah, they are citizens of Ghana, they have the right. But even you, in the political space, your party, even the requirement and all those things are issues still with your parties. But when you are talking, I'm coming.
Okay.
But when you are talking of elections,
land for me.
People interests have at stake. People want to be monitoring
The
every
reason why
stage
you
of the
should
Electoral
be talking.
Commission.
Yeah.
So when NDC is talking or NPP is talking, you can understand. You can understand. But for the CPP, your position is
Thank you very much.
You want a
Thank you. My time is up.
transparent voter register. So what is your beef?
Thank you. My time is up. Hadi from Pick Farm says, if Madam Jemensa is not careful, she will go down in history as the EC boss who placed her selfish gains ahead of the peace, safety, and democracy of we, the good people of Ghana. We as humans plan, and Allah, the Almighty, is the best planner. You can't force any candidate on we, the good people of Ghana, as our president than the one chosen with our thumbs. Thank you very much, Hadi from Pig Farm. And a few more messages. And Ambassador Sampiale says, in his capacity as the head of government, the president is the ultimate head of all the three arms of government. He takes precedence over all other persons. But the judicial authority of Ghana is vested in the judiciary headed by the Chief Justice. Even the president's right to activate emergency powers is subject to parliamentary approval. So Ambassador Sampiale wanted to correct you on that. Theo in Nadaregu, my very good friend Theo says, good morning to you, KOD. Thank you for your selfless work for Mother Ghana. And I saw a few messages. Ahmed, good morning to you. And Alhaji Hamza, Pig Farm, I've read your message. Dipku, I've read your message. Okay, Monica Calls, I've not seen your message. Long time.
Long time.
Good morning to you, KOD. You said J. from Taifa says, KOD, I've been asking to know, vouching for and swearing an oath. If this is true, are they going to bring commissioners for oaths to all the registration centers? Are they going to be sanitizing the Bibles or the Qurans that we'll be using for the oath? Kwame, please ask the MPP man whether it is a national voter register that they want to compile or an MPP election rigging register. Tell him they are not smarter than anybody. Criminal minds, criminal minds, criminal minds. This one was sent by J. John inside Taifa. This one says, please, I want Nanado to hear this. In 2014, he tweeted that Ghanaians will not forgive JDM when a citizen of this country contract Ebola. Now, as it stands, over 8,000 have contracted the virus. Okay. And the messages are a lot. Now, I'm sure, Ko Same from Nima, I have seen your message. Unfortunately, I can't read it. But I've seen your message. It has to do with House of Chiefs. Now, I told you when I started the show that Bernard Ambata Lemona has been invited by the Ghana Police CID to answer to some questions that they have, especially also because those questions have got to do with his utterances regarding the EC's conduct and the fact that they are going to ensure that they vehemently resist any attempt to subvert the will of the people through what they describe as the idea of compiling a new voters register. In view of that, Bernard Bona has been very vocal. He has been very vehement with his position, unflinching, unmoving, and shaking. Now, a lot of people who side with this view have decided that because of the restrictions on movement, they are not going to be following him to the police headquarters. However, in solidarizing with him, they are going to ensure that they hoot their horns, the horns of their vehicles at exactly 12 noon. But even before we get to play that video, it's imperative without more to play to you what Bernard Mona himself said when he was brought on the morning show on Friday. Let's take a watch.
And I told my lawyer that I will handle it. Lawyer also, upon hearing it, also wanted to know what we do. And I told my lawyer that I will handle it. But you know, Professor Raymond Atuguba will not allow me to go alone. So he insists he wants to be there with me. But I had to put some conditions for which he will be there, because I'm not going to be restrained from what I'm going to say. And so if he knows he's coming there to want to hold me from saying the things that I want to say at the CID, he shouldn't come, because if he does, I will disown him. And so we have an understanding that I'll be allowed to speak my heart to the CID. Since they want it, they will get it from me. I have told them the worst they can do, lock me up 48 hours, take me to court, court imprisons me, I will not stop talking. Kwame, I'm also expecting the CID to invite IDEC. I am expecting them to invite Send Ghana, who also issued a very, what do I call it, bleak situation surrounding the new voters register. I'm expecting them to invite the Center for the Democratic Development, CPP, because they have also issued a statement indicating that the rate and the way the Electoral Commission is proceeding, that Ghana will be plunged into calamity. So I'm expecting them to invite them. I'm expecting them to invite the majority leader, who says that if a new register is not compiled, the Ghana will not be in peace. I'm expecting them to invite them so that Monday we can all meet.
Then I'm sure they have to invite Mujeeb Rahman.
No, Mujeeb Rahman said they will beat us, and I said that we will beat each other, because I swear that if Mujeeb Rahman touch me, I will slap him 3 times. Yes, the least touch, I will slap him 3 times. So they threat by Mujeeb Rahman that they will beat us, and he can't even. All these institutions are cautioning you from Imani Ghana that don't lead us onto such a perilous path. The EC said they will not listen, and when we are cautioning the EC, and we are telling them that we will resist, which has been my catchword, that we will resist the EC, a media house decided that they are going to publish the story, and the caption that will disrupt the process. It is not my fault. That media house chose that they are going to disrupt. I said we'll resist, and I've been resisting anyway. I've been resisting the Electoral Commission's useless attempt to change the register. If it is not a useless...
On Friday on the morning show, and you know, he was just responding to the invitation by the police and the fact that he feels that he is been singled out of the many persons who have made such remarks regarding the Electoral Commission and its conduct. Now, subsequent to that, like I intimated before, people have actually decided to throw their weight behind Bernard Mona. Watch this.
Hoot the horns of our vehicles at exactly 12 noon for 10 minutes. Let us do this to protect our freedom and justice. The destiny of this country, our democracy and freedom of speech is in our hands. Remember, you are citizens and not spectators. Don't sit back and allow Akufo-Addo become a dictator. Don't allow Akufo-Addo to rig the elections. Blow your horns at exactly 12 o'clock for 10 minutes. God bless you. God bless our homeland Ghana.
It appears we have a national responsibility on our hands. Bernard Mona has undoubtedly become a national hero overnight for his bold statements that he made, and the fact that we must ensure that our democracy is continuously protected. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. A big thank you to my sponsors, Ridge Royal Hotel, for sponsoring the morning show. Their number is 03. Now that the president has eased the restrictions, it means the conferences and things like that can start. So Ridge Royal Hotel is a place to be. Mujeeb, we have to go there. Beautiful place. You'll love it. Trust me. Their number is 031 200 3222. 031 200 3222. Ridge Royal Hotel richly invited. Also, a big thank you to ATL, Akosomo Textiles Limited. Adam, you didn't pop the thing up. Oh. You didn't pop the thing up. I beg. ATL proudly also sponsors the morning show. We thank them, Akosomo Textiles Limited it is. And also, a big thank you to the guy who provided my costume for today, Eku Fashion. His number is 0244 417 855. 0244 417 855. And also to our laundry. What's the name of the laundry guy again? Zainu Laundry Services. Yes, I was trying to recall that. Zainu Laundry Services for always making sure that our clothes are clean and are neat. I'll put their numbers out later on, maybe tomorrow on the morning show. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. I've had with me in the studios Mujeeb Rahman, a leading communicator of the MPP, and of course Mr. Sylvester Sarpong Soprano, who is also gunning for the CPP General Secretary position. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso, and this has been Good Morning Africa Show. I'd like to say a big thank you to all those who made time to watch me on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on their TV screens in their homes. Make sure you stay safe. Make sure you protect yourselves at all times. Make sure you observe all the World Health Organization protocols, and make sure that we keep protecting ourselves from contracting COVID-19. I'll see you guys tomorrow. But tomorrow, though, 12 noon, let's make sure that we solidarize with our comrade Bernard Mona. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thanks a lot. Salute.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and the champion of liberty, of human equality. Let's salute him, fellow Ghanaians, the nation's founder, Sergeant Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him, Ghana showboy, Africa's great son, Sergeant Dr. Nkrumah.